Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice of the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says capital markets have jumped after election results, reflecting overall positivity during his reply to the motion of thanks on the President's address in the Rajya Sabha. Parliament adjourned sine die. Judicial probe ordered in the deadly stampede at Hathras in India's Uttar Pradesh, which claimed at least 121 lives, mostly women and children. Britain gears up for parliamentary elections on Thursday. Pre-poll surveys predict a landslide victory for the Labour Party, ending 14 years of Tory rule. Rift widens in the Democratic Party over US President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election bid. Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly emerges as a top choice to replace Joe Biden. And the political crisis deepens in Nepal. The two largest parties strike a deal to oust Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda to form a new alliance. Special Parliament session wrapped up in both houses of Parliament, which were adjourned sine die on Wednesday. Both houses registered more than 100% productivity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday spoke in the upper house of Parliament on the motion of thanks to the President's inaugural address. The Prime Minister said his government is working towards making India's economy as the third largest in the world over the next 5 years. Prime Minister Modi also hit out at the opposition parties for disrupting proceedings in Parliament.
On Wednesday, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke in the upper house of the Indian Parliament on the motion of thanks to the President's inaugural address for the session. The Prime Minister spoke on the growth of Indian economy and how his government is working towards making India's economy the third largest in the world over the next 5 years.
देश की जनता ने हमें 5 नंबर से 3 नंबर की इकोनॉमी पर पहुंचाने के लिए जनादेश दिया है और मुझे पक्का विश्वास है कि देश की जनता ने हमें जो जनादेश दिया है, हम भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था को विश्व के टॉप 3 में पहुंचा के रहेंगे.
The PM also highlighted the dark days of democracy before the Parliament. He said he was personally affected by the emergency proclaimed by the Congress government in 1975.
आपातकाल को मैंने बहुत निकट से देखा है. करोड़ों लोगों को कल्पना भार की यातनाएं दी गई है. उनका जीना मुश्किल कर दिया गया था और जो संसद के अंदर होता था वो तो रिकॉर्ड पर है. भारत के संविधान की बातें करने वालों को मैं पूछता हूं, जब आपने लोकसभा को 7 साल चलाया था, लोकसभा का कार्यकाल 5 साल है, वो कौन सा संविधान था जिसको लेकर के आपने 7 साल तक सत्ता की मौज ली और लोगों पर जुल्म करते रहे? और आप संविधान हमें सिखाते हो?
Amid sloganeering and walkout by the opposition parties in the Rajya Sabha, Prime Minister Narendra Modi lashed out at the Congress for spreading falsehood and lies. He also expressed his concerns about the way Congress was disrupting the proceedings of the House.
इतनी चर्चा के बाद उन्होंने उठाए हुए सवालों के जवाब भी सुनने की हिम्मत नहीं है. इन्होंने ये अपर हाउस को अपमानित कर रहे हैं.
The Indian Parliament was adjourned on Wednesday afternoon after the motion of thanks to the President's address was passed by a voice vote. In this session, the Rajya Sabha had over 100% productivity and the members debated on the President's address for more than 22 hours.
The Parliament, the first inaugural session of Parliament has now come to an end, and after the Prime Minister has given his motion of thanks in both the Houses of Parliament, both yesterday the Lok Sabha and today the Rajya Sabha has been adjourned sine die till the next session. This is Dibyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
India is hosting a two-day Global India AI Summit in New Delhi. The summit, which was inaugurated by India's Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, on Wednesday, saw international delegates, AI experts and policymakers put their heads together for increased global collaboration in artificial intelligence. DD India's Amritpal Singh reports.
India is making significant strides in its effort to establish the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence as the leading authority on all matters relating to AI, including regulations and the development of a global framework. With New Delhi's unwavering commitment to responsible development, deployment and adoption of artificial intelligence, the GPAI, or the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, now wishes to widen its ambit for global cooperation.
That our companies can understand what is common, what is different, how we can better understand what each other is doing, and this will be done now with the support of the OECD, with a very strong support, I must say, from Canada, from India, from France, and now with more than 40 countries together, and we are inviting many others emerging and developing countries to come together and to work as a community.
The threats posed by AI figured prominently in the discussions on day one of the summit. Inaugurating the summit, India's Minister of Electronics and Information Technology flagged both the potential and risks of AI.
In the recent general elections, we have seen how big a threat disinformation, misinformation and fake news can be. And that threat gets multiplied manifold by the power of AI. And this is not something which only we are experiencing. The entire world has experienced the same, and globally every society, every government is feeling exactly the same threat from the emergence of new risks based on AI.
With a thematic focus on compute capacity, foundational models, datasets, application development, future skills, startup financing, and safe and trusted AI, the conference saw comprehensive discussions spanning the entire AI spectrum. Given the existing and emerging threats to democracies, countries, communities, society at large from artificial intelligence technologies, this conference aims to foster a safe, trusted and responsible environment where artificial intelligence is used to better people's lives. With cameraman Saurabh Shukla, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in New Delhi.
Following a disappointing performance in a debate against Donald Trump is what has happened as far as the US is concerned, and the fate of Joe Biden seems to be in a bit of a doldrums because he's been facing a lot of scrutiny from within his own party. Some Democratic lawmakers and donors have been questioning his ability to lead and win the upcoming election, with up to 25 House Democrats potentially calling for him to drop out of the race. The White House has turned Biden's stumbling performance during last week's debate against Trump as a bad night.
What I can say is that, just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night. And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that. And so I cannot speak to anything beyond what I just shared. The president has regular annual physicals that we release in a thorough report. We're going to continue to do that. I don't have anything else beyond that.
Meanwhile, the New York Times has said that US President Joe Biden has told a key ally that he knows he may not be able to salvage his candidacy if he cannot convince the public in the coming days that he is up for the job after a disastrous debate performance last Thursday. Let's go across for more details to my colleague in the newsroom, Mark Lynn. Mark, what is the latest? I believe that Biden is also now, after all these days following that disastrous debate, spoken to top Democrat Chuck Schumer as well.
Yes, Gautam, the report that the New York Times, as you read it, it quotes that he has spoken to a key ally, and he has told him that perhaps he's not quite ready for the job as one can see it in the fitness of things, because there has been a lot of voices against his performance, especially from California, which is a very strong blue state, and over there people were a little disappointed not only with his performance but with the choices that they had, especially since Trump had a bit of immunity from the Supreme Court and seems to have been surging ahead. But a Reuters poll recently, a very recent Reuters poll, seems to suggest that Joe Biden has made up, and basically it's an even battle as things stand. The question is, who would they choose in case Joe Biden decides after a conference with a number of Democratic governors and top leaders of the Democratic Party, whether he wants to step down, whether that the next choice should be Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris, being his running mate, would automatically, get into the entire machinery, which is the election machinery, and then take over from there. And it would be a similar kind of ticket. And her name has the highest recall. But whether the Democrats actually are willing for that, or they want someone else to come up, is a matter that is being discussed currently. But there seems to be a surge for Joe Biden once again, because he is even in the poll that I said, the recent Reuters poll with Donald Trump. I mean, if they had the elections, he's likely to probably hold his own.
Yes,
and
they're both at 40%.
If Harris does take over, actually she could lose.
Yes, that is a big gamble, really. If Joe Biden were to bow at this stage, and that's being deliberated among the Democrats, it's been also reported that he will speak to House Democrat Clyburn as well on Wednesday itself, which is Wednesday today for the US, their Eastern time. Now, that will be a big gamble because, as you said, 40-40 for both Trump and Biden, even at this stage, even after the debate. And if he's replaced, that is in a way already conceding the race, isn't it? And won't then, if Kamala Harris were to run, won't she be running as the fall gal instead of a guy?
Absolutely. And perhaps that is the big concern for the Democrats. Though, of course, there are a number of other names doing the rounds. Some of them are the governors that are currently in place. In Pennsylvania is one. But the point is that, it is for the Democratic Party to decide. And there are a number of, in the Republicans as well, people who were going to support the Democratic candidate because they were against Trump. They were the no-Trumpers in a sense. So those people are also, a little bewildered by the performance of Joe Biden. And the question is about how strong Trump's performance is in terms of, getting the votes that are in the swing states or the votes that are undecided on his side. Because a number of the young voters don't really feel that there is much between these two candidates. And they're not really they can't see anything coming out of this election that is something that they would look forward to. So the issue is really if they could find a candidate who would change, who would tilt the things in their favor, and because the Democrats don't want to lose this anymore. After all, Trump's immunity from the Supreme Court is something that has set them back a bit, because if he does get into the White House, then a lot of the issues that the Democrats stand for, they believe are going to be, slowly and surely pushed away.
Yes, that is quite likely. And, well, there's been talk about Michelle Obama stepping up as well to be the Democratic candidate, although at this stage whether someone would want to be that sacrificial goat or not is another question. But thanks for the moment, Mark, for joining us and throwing more light on this. Now, a New York judge has delayed the sentencing of Donald Trump to the 18th of September, giving a short-term reprieve to the former US president. The initial sentencing date in the case that was related to hush money trial that was called was set for the 11th of July, just before the Republican National Convention. But with a new timeline, Trump is likely to be nominated by his party to run against Joe Biden before this sentencing takes place. In May, Trump had made history by becoming the first former US president to be convicted of a crime, found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records related to the hush money payments made during his 2016 presidential campaign to porn star Stormy Daniels. And still to come on DD India News Hour. UK general election is set to overhaul British politics. Over 200 candidates pull out of the French runoff in a bid to foil the far right. And Nepal's two largest parties come up with a power-sharing agreement to form the next government under KP Sharma Oli, ousting present Prime Minister Prachand.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. The United Kingdom is primed to go to polls on Thursday, with most pundits saying the results are a foregone conclusion. Barring the biggest of all surprises, 10 Downing Street is set to have a new occupant in the shape and form of Labour's Keir Starmer. The incumbent Rishi Sunak is headed out the door after calling the elections early, only to end the Conservatives' 14-year rule prematurely.
Thursday is when the world will find out who will be the new 650 members of the United Kingdom's House of Commons. Which party or alliance gets a majority of the seats? Whose leader will take the Prime Minister's chair? UK's parliamentary elections are widely forecast to oust the ruling Conservatives and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak from power after 14 years and hand Labour's Keir Starmer a brute majority on the back of an average 20 points lead in all opinion polls. So much so that it prompted former PM Boris Johnson to suddenly emerge from the woodwork on the penultimate day of campaigning to rally round support for Sunak, who was among the Conservatives who pulled the rug from under his feet. Bojo didn't really endorse Sunak, but warned voters of what a Labour government with brute strength in Britain's lower house would mean for the country.
Yet Labour are so cocky that they're so complacent, they're so smug, they're barely concealing their agenda anymore. And we can see what it is. Whacking up taxes on pensions, on property, persecuting private enterprise, attacking private education and private healthcare, with all the pointless extra burden that will place on the taxpayer.
Sunak seemed grateful for Johnson's support and appealed to British voters once again to stop Labour's impending landslide win.
Now, Boris is right to say now is the time for all Conservatives to come together to deny Labour that supermajority that Keir Starmer craves. We have 48 hours to save Britain from the danger of a Labour government.
But the Labour top leader came right back at Sunak and Johnson while campaigning in Wales on Wednesday, saying Sunak's move to bank on Johnson's backing was a sign of desperation.
I've been arguing that the last 14 years have been about chaos and division, and last night they wheeled out the architect of chaos and division. So I think that just shows the sort of desperate negative place they've got to in their campaign. I'm proud, by contrast, that our campaign from start to finish has been positive, has been confident, and has been about the change that we need in our country.
Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey carried on with his offbeat campaigning capers on Wednesday, Following his water sport and bungee jumping adventures, he got behind the steering of a tractor in a race across a field in southwest England, where he hopes to make gains against the Conservatives. Even British far-right Brexiter Nigel Farage is fancying his chances, with hopes of opening his Reform UK Party's account in the Commons to challenge traditional parties in a similar way to France's National Rally. How will the UK vote? Polls will open at 7 a.m. local time on Thursday. Polling will go on till 10 p.m. local time. Britons can cast a vote in each of the nation's 650 seats to choose an MP. The halfway mark of 326 is the magic number. MPs of the parties getting a simple majority will choose their leader. The leaders of the majority party in UK's House becomes PM. No single party majority means looking for outside support or forming an alliance government. Theresa May headed a minority government in 2017 after a close result. David Cameron formed a coalition after the 2010 election. While Britain votes, the media is barred from talking about anything which could influence the process. But the moment polling closes, exit polls will drop, and historically, unlike India, they've been very accurate. The actual votes will be counted throughout Thursday night, and the results could be out as early as 3 a.m. local time on Friday, if there are no cliffhanger contests. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's get you some more on this with DD India's Ollie Barrett joining us from London. Hello there, Ollie. Despite the odds heavily stacked against them, the Conservatives like Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson have been fighting on to beat anti-incumbency and Labour's policy counterpunches that prospect of a supermajority. But are they in a dwindling minority even among the Tories themselves?
There certainly have been growing Conservative voices in recent days coming out and saying publicly that they feel that they've lost the election, that all hope is effectively gone. That has led Rishi Sunak on several occasions himself to have to deny that that is where he finds himself and where he feels the party is, insisting that the Conservatives can continue to campaign and still stand a chance of avoiding that Labour majority, a large majority in the House of Commons behind me, that the Conservatives are warning against. But privately, even many of those Conservatives who won't say it publicly, won't say it out loud, do seem to acknowledge that this election is one that, barring a miracle, they have lost.
And what about Keir Starmer himself and the Labour Party? I wouldn't blame them if they've been a little smug off late, but can this election also be more than a two-horse race?
Certainly Keir Starmer has been insisting throughout this election period, because the polls have been so healthy for Labour, that Labour must not be complacent, and he's been insisting that right up until the last minute. One of the reasons for doing so is that they don't want Labour voters or potential Labour voters to stay at home on Thursday because they feel that this election race is all over. So he's been trying to avoid that. Reform UK may well return one or two or a handful more MPs to Parliament behind me, but even if they do get a significant chunk of the polls, they won't be getting many more than that. The Liberal Democrats hope to bounce back in a significant way from the last election.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. Not too long to go now, and we'll know pretty soon after the polls close as to which way is the wind blowing. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ollie Barrett. Now, opponents of France's national rally intensified their efforts to prevent the far right from gaining power as additional candidates agreed to withdraw from this weekend's runoff election to avoid dividing the anti-Aron vote. Over 200 candidates have now confirmed their withdrawal from the second round scheduled for Sunday. Marine Le Pen's national rally has emerged as the frontrunner in the last Sunday's initial round of voting. Syed Absarul Hassan reports.
A new twist has emerged in France's second round of parliamentary polls scheduled for the July 7th after the far-right National Rally Party surged in the first round. France's left-wing and centrist parties have begun withdrawing candidates in a move to block the formation of the country's first far-right government since World War II. This indirect alliance aims to prevent vote splitting in the second round. Over 200 candidates have already confirmed that they will not stand in Sunday's second round. President Macron's centrist and the left-wing's New Popular Front hope to prevent such an outcome. Marine Le Pen's National Rally Party has criticized the move by the left and centrist parties, calling it elitist and against the interests of the French people.
I don't believe in this Republican front at all. You know, I think one cannot stand up against a people who have started to hope again. National Rally leader Bardella is the personality who crystallizes this hope, who crystallizes the end of budgetary, migratory and security chaos. The French are counting on us and I think they are much more free than the elites might think.
The National Rally RN party of Marine Le Pen came out well ahead in Sunday's first round vote after President Emmanuel Macron's call on a snap election backfired, leaving his centrist camp at third place behind the RN and a hastily formed left-wing alliance. Instead of strengthening the mandate of his centrist Renaissance party, the National Rally won the most seats in the first round of voting on June 30th. Pollsters calculated that the first round, the RN was on track to secure between 250 and 300 seats. However, this was before tactical withdrawals and cross-party calls for voters to support whichever candidate was best positioned to defeat their local RN rival. The National Rally Party opposes further European Union integration and advocates cutting funding to the EU. Human rights groups have raised concerns about how its national preference and anti-migration policies would affect ethnic minorities, while economists question whether its ambitious spending plans are adequately funded. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
And close to India, in Nepal, the two largest parties in the federal parliament, NC and the CPN-UML, have agreed to share power, aiming to form a new government under the leadership of UML Chair KP Sharma Oli. Nepalese Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda on Tuesday called on President Ramchandra Patel and decided not to resign from his post. The pact, finalized between NC President Sher Bahadur Deuba and UML Chairperson KP Sharma Oli, outlines the ministerial division, provincial leadership roles and a rotation for the Prime Minister's post. Under the agreement, UML Chair Oli will lead the government initially for the first half of the remaining term of the current parliament. Let me now take you across to DD India's Shweta Singh, joining us from Nepal's capital Kathmandu. Good evening to you, Shweta from Delhi. Now, why is Prachanda not resigning after he's clearly lost majority following his partner CPN-UML joining hands with the rival outfit?
Gautam, actually, you see, yesterday when Prachanda met President Patel, he was very clear that he is not willing to resign, and he is going to face floor test for the 5th time, because 4 times he won. He gained the confidence of the parliament. So he expected that even now, when two largest party, Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, when they have joined hands together and they vowed to make new government, he even has thought he will be like getting more, he will yet continue to get support. But it's 5 minutes back update. Vishnu Rijal of CPN-UML committee member, central committee member, he just informed that 8 of the ministers of CPN-UML has resigned and given the resignation letter to Prime Minister Prachanda. It's just 5 minutes back. So now CPN-UML Mayu Center leader Prachanda does not have CPN-UML KP Sharma Oli support. So now I think he will be forced to step down. Though he wanted, he will be getting into floor test, but I don't think so now it is any possibility.
All right. Now, how stable is a power sharing agreement likely to be between otherwise political rivals? Could Nepal even witness midterm elections?
Gautam, here you see political stability is a bit in question, because it's like 16 months, and in 16 months it was like 4 times already floor test had happened in the parliament, and this would have been 5th time. if had these CPN UML ministers not resigned right now, so it would have been fifth. Though because two largest party coming together, there is no chance that third largest party, that was of CPN Mayu Center, that was led by Prachanda with 32 seats, will get is having any scope. But you see, chances of midterm election is not there, because any case these two parties in collision, Nepali Congress and CPN UML, have come together, because these both are having 89 seats and 78 seats. So they are any case going to form government now. But the final date of oath taking and other things will be updated soon. The moment it is updated, we will let our viewers know that.
Certainly. Thanks a lot for joining us with those details, Shweta. And still to come on DD India News Hour, we'll be diving deep and in a bid to understand the intricacies of British politics with our expert guest in just a bit. ISRO chairperson speaks to DD India on asteroids and takeaways from Sunita Williams' mission.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. And before we go any further, another look at our top stories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says capital markets have jumped after election results, reflecting overall positivity during his reply to the motion of thanks on the President address in the upper house. Parliament adjourned sine die. Judicial probe ordered in the deadly stampede at Hathras in India's Uttar Pradesh, which claimed at least 121 lives, mostly women and children. And Britain gears up for parliamentary elections on Thursday. Pre-poll surveys predict a landslide victory for Labour Party, ending 14 years of Tory rule. Also, rift widens in the Democratic Party over US President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election bid. Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly emerges as the top choice to replace Joe Biden. Now, the 24th meeting of the SCO Council of Heads of State has begun in Astana under the presidency of Kazakhstan, marking a significant gathering of leaders from across the SCO member nations. Under its presidency, Kazakhstan is expected to advance Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision for a secure SCO, emphasizing security, economic ties, connectivity, unity, sovereignty and environmental protection. The meeting also anticipates discussions on the admission of new members like Belarus, underscoring the SCO's expanding global influence and geopolitical significance since its establishment in 2001.
The 24th meeting of the SCO Council of Heads of State kick-started in Astana under the presidency of Kazakhstan on Wednesday. Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar were among the leaders that arrived in the capital of Kazakhstan for the summit. Indian External Affairs Minister is leading the Indian delegation in Astana. Dr. Jaishankar, on the first day of his arrival, held meetings with leaders of the SCO member nations, including Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, where he strongly raised the concern of the Indian nationals who are currently in the war zone, calling for their expeditious return. He also met the members of Indian community and paid homage at the statue of Mahatma Gandhi in Astana. The 24th meeting of SCO Council of Heads of State will be held on 4th July 2024 in Astana. The SCO leaders are expected to review the organization's activities over the past 2 decades and discuss the state and prospect of multilateral cooperation. The leaders are also set to address a range of significant issues impacting its member states and the broader region, including enhancing regional security and stability, boosting economic and trade cooperation, promoting cultural and humanitarian collaboration, and addressing environmental changes. India, which last held the presidency of the SCO, shaped its priorities by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of a secure SCO. Secure stands for security, economic cooperation, connectivity, unity, respect and sovereignty, and territorial integrity, and environmental protection. Kazakhstan is expected to take forward this vision during its presidency. Meanwhile, the group is also likely to review the process of admitting new members such as Belarus, reflecting the organization's growing influence and expanding its geopolitical reach. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which was established in 2001, now has a total 9 member states, including China, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, along with several observers and dialogue partners that make it one of the most powerful multilateral forums in the world. Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Let's now take you back to a previous big story that is really unfolding tomorrow on Thursday, which is the UK parliamentary elections. Elections for the 650 seats in the House of Commons, where if all the forecast predictions were to come true, the Conservatives will be out of power after 14 years and they will be replaced with what some people, even Rishi Sunak has himself used that term, the current UK Prime Minister, the Labour could get a super majority in the House of Commons. What does that mean really for the UK and for all those countries that have relations with the UK, including India? Let's speak about that with Professor Harshvardhan Pant, who is the Vice President of Observer Research Foundation and is joining us from Delhi. Good evening to you, Professor Pant. What do you make of, first of all, what is likely to happen? It's being said to be a foregone conclusion, and now people are simply talking about what kind of numbers, a super majority, the Labour will be getting.
Yeah, I think, elections in democracies always are unpredictable, and we may see some surprises, but I think by and large the trend is very clear that whatever we know so far, we know that it is probably the end of a long reign of the Tories, uninterrupted reign of around 14 years. Conservative Party has been ruling Britain now for better part of the last 2 decades. And now that seems to be coming to an end with a resurgent Labour under Keir Starmer that has, who has been very successful in moving Labour Party to the centre ground of British politics, something that only Tony Blair did, so far back, and was able to bring Labour once again, as a governing coalition, as a governing party of Britain. And I think what Starmer has done is to remove the hardened edge of Jeremy Corbyn years and brought the Labour to the centre stage, softened some of its rougher edges, allowed new constituencies to join in, thereby making Labour the real party of governance in some ways. And of course, a lot of it is attributable to the self-destructive mode in which Tories, the Conservative Party, found itself when they had to elect leader after leader, only to realize that by the time Rishi Sunak was appointed, it was probably too late. So I think we are going to see, if the present trends continue and if the present trends are anything to go by, a transformative change in British politics.
So what would you call this if all the forecasts were to come out to be true? Would it be a vote in favour of Labour or just against, an anti-incumbency vote against the Conservatives, the Rishi Sunak and his entire outfit?
I think if the scale of the victory is as high as people are predicting, then I think certainly it will be a reflection on the inability of the Tories to convince people after last elections under Boris Johnson that they should be given another chance for governing the country. I think people are fed up with the internecine rivalry within the Conservatives, and I think the inability of the Conservatives to really get a grip on the number of challenges that Britain is facing. Britain is actually at a crossroads in more ways than one, and the inability of the Conservatives to articulate a coherent strategy for how do they expect Britain to get out of this rut probably is one of the most important reasons why the scale of the victory in favor of the Labour is being predicted as so high. But certainly Labour has also done its job. Labour has also created a new constituency for itself. And Labour has also been successful in convincing, after years of being in wilderness, that they can also be the party of governance, which the Tories once prided themselves in. Today, Labour, if you look at the Labour Party, it looks more organized, it looks more confident, it looks more disciplined. All the attributes that once were applicable to the Tories. And I think that's why we are going to see probably one of the largest shifts in British political histories.
Okay, and what do you make of the fact that on the penultimate day of campaigning, even Boris Johnson came out of the woodwork, and although he didn't really stand with Rishi Sunak or endorse him in some way, and Rishi Sunak was happy with that, because if you look at the way Boris Johnson exited, Rishi Sunak was one of them who sort of pulled the rug from under his feet, but he literally left in disgrace.
Boris Johnson was the last Prime Minister under which the Tories got such a big mandate. So clearly, there is a constituency in Britain that likes Boris Johnson, and Boris Johnson remains very popular on the stump. So if he campaigns, I think they are going to get some additional support for the Tories. He's going to add some support for the Tories. But he's also reflective of this lack of discipline within the Tories that permeated the Conservative Party because of his inability to govern effectively during COVID, and then post-COVID when he was re-elected 4 years back, not being able to give any sense of direction to the Conservative Party, and in fact he had to leave in disgrace, as you put it. So clearly he's also part of the problem. But the serious condition that the Tories find themselves in today, perhaps that is a reflection of the fact that they needed to bring out Boris Johnson and made him do some stump speech for electioneering.
Right. And in terms of if there were to be this shift, this great shift after a great amount of time in UK politics in terms of who gets to be in power, what would it mean for UK's interaction with the world, with the other countries, especially its interactions, its relations with India?
I think on foreign policy, we are likely to see a great degree of continuity, apart from some of the facts around immigration, for example, where the hard-nosed stance of the Tories might give way to some moderation on the part of Labour. But if you see what Starmer in particular has been saying,
a trade deal also still hangs in balance. It didn't get worked out by Rishi Sunak as well, and between Prime Minister Modi.
that will continue. We will see acceleration probably on the FTA front as far as India is concerned. We are what Starmer has done is in effect brought Labour much closer to India. Labour at one point was seen as the party that is not particularly sympathetic to Indian concerns. But Starmer has been effectively wooing the Indian constituency in the UK, and Starmer has been very effective in articulating a pro-India position on a number of issues. So I think as far as India-UK relations are concerned, they will continue to be on a strong footing, irrespective of who is in power. And perhaps we might see a strong government with a strong mandate might also lead to an early conclusion of the FTA, which is very close to realization in more ways than one. So I do think that there is much good news here for India and India-UK relations. And I do think that the attempt by UK to engage more in the Indo-Pacific is also likely to continue, which is also something that India would like UK to do. So clearly on a range of issues, whether it is China, Pakistan, terrorism, Indo-Pacific and FTA, we are going to see continuities across the board rather than any major disruption.
All right. Well, let's see what happens first of all on Thursday with the voting. And the numbers it really brings out, because a lot of people are also saying that people might not be that keen to step out and vote, thinking that the result is a foregone conclusion. So that is also something that could impact the final outcome. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Professor Pant. Now, musician and singer-songwriter Roger Waters hopes that a free Julian Assange might one day be able to resume his work at WikiLeaks. Waters also said that he is prepared to help fund the whistleblower media organization. Co-founder of Pink Floyd, Waters had long called for the release of Julian Assange from a jail in Britain. Assange landed in Australia after pleading guilty to violating US espionage laws in a deal that sets him free from a 14-year legal battle. Now back home, a deadly stampede took place at a religious event in Hathras, a city in the North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. The incident claimed at least 121 lives, mostly women and children. Uttar Pradesh's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath visited Hathras on Wednesday to address the situation. He held a meeting with the authorities concerned and announced a judicial probe into the incident. The Chief Minister also visited a government hospital to inquire about the well-being of the 28 people injured in the incident and admitted there. The CM also announced a financial assistance of $2,300 each for the families of those deceased. Meanwhile, public interest litigation was also filed in Allahabad High Court seeking a Central Bureau of Investigation probe. Let's now take a look at some of the other updates coming in from around the country. Hemant Soren is set to return as Chief Minister of the state of Jharkhand. Outgoing Jharkhand CM Champai Soren tendered his resignation on Wednesday. Hemant Soren will be sworn in as Chief Minister for the third time. Chief Minister of the Indian state of Gujarat Bhupendra Patel chaired a high-level meeting to review arrangements for the 147th Jagannath Rath Yatra. For the safety of lives and property, the Chief Minister ordered police presence at dilapidated and hazardous buildings to deter unauthorized entry. On the occasion of Battle Honour Day, Tiger Hill, a solemn wreath-laying ceremony was organized at the National War Memorial in the Indian capital of New Delhi. The ceremony honoured the unwavering valour and sacrifice of the valiant soldiers who fought for the capture of Tiger Hill in Operation Vijay. Serving soldiers, war veterans, joined in paying tributes to the brave hearts who sacrificed their lives in the operation. The Indian Met Department has issued a heavy rainfall alert for the country. A red alert has been issued for the states of West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam and Meghalaya. An orange alert has been issued for India's capital, New Delhi. The Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, celebrated International Asteroid Day, which is commemorated on the 30th of June every year. The day aims to raise public awareness about the asteroid impact hazard. ISRO chairperson Dr. Somnath spoke to DD India on asteroids and takeaways from Sunita Williams' mission. He wished her early and safe return. He also spoke about ISRO's missions planned this year.
The space missions are getting interesting and deeper, and today ISRO is talking about asteroids and also planetary defense. I have with me ISRO chairman Dr. Somnath. So why are we focusing on asteroids and also interplanetary defense?
See, June 30th of every year is celebrated as Asteroid Day, basically to bring awareness about the dangers associated with asteroids visiting Earth, especially the near-Earth asteroids. They do come. It is a joint work of many nations to catalog them, understand them, and work together to understand the dangers posed by them. Basically, to tell you essentially that we don't want to be extinct like the dinosaurs. When on a day that the asteroid was hit the Earth, when the dinosaurs were dwelling, they were the predominant species on Earth. They were all vanished away, and we don't want to allow that to happen. So, with the knowledge of space technology and space missions, we should be able to take
Where do we stand right now in this
knowledge and data? The first thing is dinosaurs knew nothing about asteroids, but we know a lot about them.
So this planetary defense we're talking about, where does India stand?
See, we have to do in many fronts. First thing is mathematical formulation, modeling, understanding of telling when it will come and when it will pass Earth. So this capability we have today. And we do not have much observational capability. We have to build it over a period of time, ground-based observation, telescopes, etc. But still, we are slowly growing in other area.
What is the immediate mission ahead now?
For?
ISRO's...
there are many missions planned this year. In fact, the first mission we are preparing for the SSLV D3 mission. We are also preparing for the next PSLV mission. Then the GSLV mission called NVS-02, the second series of the NAVIC. Also the NISR when it is coming. We have a mission called SPADEX in a PSLV. Then we have a customer satellite mission is also pending. Yeah.
What is the lessons, the takeaways that we are seeing from Sunita Williams' mission?
So it's a very important take away from that mission for us, because it's a new human spacecraft, the Starliner, like our Gaganyaan. When we send it, we must make sure that there are no uncertainties of any nature. And I am sure she will come back and then go in another mission soon.
That was ISRO chairman explaining about the missions with camera person Girish, Asha Khanam, DD India, Bangalore.
India's benchmark stock market indices, the Nifty and Sensex, reached new all-time highs on Wednesday, with the Sensex crossing the 80,000 mark for the first time. It was driven by strong performance in banking and fast-moving consumer goods sectors. The BSE Sensex rose 0.72% to 80,013, while the NSE Nifty opened 0.7% higher at 24,291. The Sensex had previously crossed 70,000 on the 11th of December 2023, and this 10,000 jump that the Sensex has seen has been its fastest ever in its entire history. The flood-hit Indian state of Assam is on high alert as it braces for more rains. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma visited flood-hit areas in Kamrup district. Besides Assam, Shimla in Himachal Pradesh, Moradabad in Uttar Pradesh, Bengaluru in Karnataka and national capital Delhi too received downpours. Here's a report.
The flood situation in Indian state of Assam remains grim. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma visited various flood-affected areas in Kamrup district. The Chief Minister said a master plan would be needed to prevent urban floods. He assured people of all necessary assistance from the administration. As flood situation persisted in Assam, 167 camps have been inundated so far by the gushing flood waters in Kaziranga National Park.
This year in Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve, the flood situation is there. Water level is it has increased to considerable amount, and almost 167 camps are inundated so far. We have evacuated 8 camps where water had.
Incessant rainfall caused flooding at several places in Manipur's Imphal West and Imphal East districts. The Indian Meteorological Department says it expects more rain for northeast India in the coming days.
The Meteorological Department has also forecasted in its weather warning that the state of Manipur is likely to experience heavy to very heavy rainfall for the next 5 days starting from 1st July 2024. The impact of this has been seen on yesterday also.
In Himachal Pradesh, rain lashed in parts of Shimla, causing delight among local tourists. In Uttar Pradesh, rain lashed several parts of Moradabad on Wednesday. Although the downpour brought relief from scorching heat, continuous rainfall also led to waterlogging in parts of Moradabad, affecting the commuters. While in Ayodhya, torrential rain led to increase in water level of Sarayu River. In neighbouring Uttarakhand, intermittent light to moderate rain continued at various places. IMD has issued a red alert of extremely heavy rain in Kumaon region for next 3 days. Due to heavy rains and landslides, more than 50 motor roads in the state are closed. While the national capital Delhi also received rain on Wednesday, bringing respite from intense humidity that had gripped the city over the past few days. In southern part of the country, heavy rain lashed several parts of Karnataka's Bengaluru on the 3rd of July. IMD has issued rainfall and thunderstorm alert for the city till the 6th of July. With inputs from Subina Roy in Assam, Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
Now let's get to the latest update on Hurricane Beryl as it wreaks havoc in the Caribbean islands. At least 7 people have been killed as life-threatening storm moves towards Jamaica. Here's a report by DD India's Nick Harper. Listen in.
Stories of death and destruction are coming in from the Caribbean islands that have been hit by the full force of Hurricane Beryl. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, almost every single building has either been badly damaged or razed to the ground. Around 90% of the island's buildings are thought to have been impacted, as well as the island's infrastructure and power supplies. Beryl is now a Category 4 storm, having weakened slightly down from a Category 5, but it's still bringing deadly conditions. and Jamaica is next in its path. The storm is expected to bring life-threatening winds and storm surges to the island. The US National Hurricane Center is warning of a potential for devastating to catastrophic wind damage. People there have been told to go to one of the island's 900 storm shelters, with the island's government saying they are prepared to deal with the effects of the storm. The southern part of Haiti has also been warned to expect flash flooding and mudslides in the next 24 hours. By the week's end, the storm is expected to reach the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and people there, in the city of Cancun in particular, have been hurriedly buying up supplies to prepare to hunker down, with long lines reported at shops and supermarkets. Remember, Beryl is the first Category 5 storm on record to hit the Atlantic Ocean in June, with it being blamed on much warmer than normal water temperatures caused by climate change. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Let's now get you some sports updates as well. Well, Team India's T20 World Cup winning team will touch down anytime soon from Barbados after winning their second T20 World Cup. The Rohit Sharma-led side have boarded a special flight from Barbados after they were stuck due to Hurricane Beryl. Soon after reaching Delhi from Barbados, the Indian contingent will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and later in the day, the team will board a chartered flight for Mumbai. The BCCI will host a ceremony at the Wankhede Stadium on Thursday evening to facilitate all the members of the Indian cricket team's winning contingent, the T20 World Cup winning team. The victorious team will take a ride on an open top bus in a parade from the National Centre for Performing Arts in Nariman Point to the iconic Wankhede Stadium. Netherlands' Cody Gakpo scored his third goal of the European Championship, and Daniel Manel added two more later on as the Dutch burst back into form with a lively display to defeat Romania 3-0 in the last 16 fixture. Now they've reached the Euro quarter-finals for the first time since 2008. Gakpo was a menace all night and turned provider for Malen's first goal in the 83rd minute. Malen notched up his second in stoppage time. Romania created just a few chances in the match and never looked a serious threat as the Netherlands controlled possession and waited for opportunities to get forward. The Dutch had 2/3 of possession and almost 5 times more chances, with 24 attempts in the game to underline their superiority. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you could get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right now. We'll be back with more news and updates as a break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.